And here we go. You are tuned in to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Locked, loaded, and ready for launch. Thank God it's Friday, everybody. It's Friday, the 7th of November, 2025, and we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on YouTube. We are streaming on X, and we are streaming at WYAB.com, the mothership. We appreciate all of our radio listeners who tune in, but if for some reason you can't get the signal, there's always that online option. Yep. Mission here is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Coach O gave me a word this morning. He said, be the light. So we're going to be the light. While we're here on earth, we're going to be the light. That's right. If you want to be part of the program today, the number is 601 879 0002. And the text line is open 601 879 5060. We really appreciate everybody who calls in and texts in. Always make part of the show. It's going to be a great show today. Show prep was awesome yesterday, but it was even better today. This show is growing in ways that I didn't foresee. I didn't think. I knew they would happen, but I didn't think this would happen so quickly. Just linking up and connecting with really great people, not just here in Mississippi, but nationally, who look at things in Mississippi, who run campaigns outside of Mississippi in red states and blue states. Also got a really big announcement coming up next week. We're going to start bringing the A game. Not that I wasn't already bringing my A game, but we're up in the level. We're making it tougher to get an A. It used to be 90%. Now it's 92%. Remember that honors grading scale? You had to be just a little bit better. And that's what we're doing. There has been so much good news happening out there. And we're getting all these wins. But we don't see that because the election this past Tuesday was sucking all the air out of the room. And so how I want to kind of start off the show is looking at some of the positive things that's going on. And then in the second hour, it's really great. We pulled up this article. I want to make sure that I have it right here. And it comes from Lacey Nago. I hope I said her name right. By the way, I'm on X. Look, I think I'm 5 subscribers away from 7,500 subscribers. If you are not on X, you should be on X because it gives you the opportunity to listen to all sides, because everybody will say that X is right wing, but it's really not. Actually, my feed is so curated that I actually have a much more leftist slant than I do right, and that's by design. But there are some great people out there that you can learn from, and you can see what they're thinking about. My handle on X is just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. But in the second hour, we're going to read this post by Lacey Nago, and she's an amazing woman. She's a Christian, a mom of 3, a wife, entrepreneur, children's author, political nerd, and is Turning Point Action Chase the Vote's director. So she is chasing the vote, not just in one state, but in all the states. She's directing that. And I'm excited to link up with her and go ahead and use her post, because I think it's important that while we do talk about some of the craziness that is out there, we have to absolutely follow Proverbs 15:1. Gentle answers turn away wrath, harsh words incite anger. And honestly, if we think about that and we just use that as the basis for looking at what happened in New York or in Minneapolis or in Mississippi, there's been a lot of harsh words said. Politics is not for the faint of heart. You've gotta be able to take a shot, and literally, the anger level have turned up the anger levels have been turned up so high, not just in the United States, but in around the world, that people are literally getting murdered, assassinated, and martyred. Before, when you used to politically take a shot, you'd have a lost vote, you would lose a race, you would not have it politically go your way. Now, the violent political left are killing us. They've been trying to kill us for a while with violence, not just politically. People can say, "Oh, losing a politician isn't a bad thing," and I agree with that. Politicians need to be changed, much like children need to have their diapers changed, and much for the same reason. They're all full of it. But having your political career ended and having your life ended, I think we can all agree that that's going to be very different. And we are going to use her story in the second hour. So if you have any friends who are Turning Point inclined, or if you know anybody who is interested in that, the second hour is going to be there. The Supreme Court, in a landmark decision, is starting to bring sanity back. We talked about this yesterday. We knew it was going to be a little bit, and then we've got to talk about the sandwich slinger. The sandwich slinger. We all remember the guy who threw a BMT with lettuce, onions, tomatoes, mustard, and mayo at the cop. We've got to get the breakdown on that. Another victory in the court. There's like so many court victories, and we kind of get tired of our court victories, but we shouldn't. We should celebrate them, and they're really, really big wins. Mississippi Free Press, I always got something there. Borat made my timeline, and I was like, "What the heck?" There's like 16 different pictures of Borat, so we're going to talk about that. But I think the place where I really want to start is with this ranked choice voting in or no, you know what? Let's start with the sandwich slinger. On Thursday, a Washington, D.C. jury found Sean Dunn, the sandwich slinger and former Department of Justice paralegal, not guilty of misdemeanor assault after he threw a Subway sandwich at a U.S. Customs and Borders Protection agent on the 10th of August. Not guilty. What is assault anymore? U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro's office initially sought felony charges, but a Washington, D.C. grand jury refused to indict. So prosecutors pursued a misdemeanor instead of amid presidential Donald Trump's deployment. Dude, think about this. All you have to do now is say, this is precedent. It's absolutely, it's mind blowing to me. What does this say about public discourse? What does this say about American humanity? Not just humanity, but how Americans perceive it. If we can sit there and say, "Oh, we can throw things at each other now, as long as it's not going to cause any bodily harm." You don't know if it's going to cause bodily harm or not. Defense lawyers emphasized gag gifts and visual evidence to argue that the Subway sandwich is still in its wrapping, and the felony footlong patch showed through could not or the felony footlong patch showed the throw could not cause harm. I guess the video, not patch. That's not the point, whether it could cause harm or not. The point is this is a grown man who was an attorney or who is an attorney who's not working for the DOJ anymore. Actually could go through the mental gymnastics to figure out that, hey, it's okay to throw a felony or a sandwich at a peace officer. I don't care whether it's federal, state, local. You just don't do that at your neighbor. I mean, if someone threw something at you, you would naturally be inclined. It would be taken as a hostile act. Forgive the military lingo there, but that'd be construed as an hostile act. It's absolutely insane. Our legal system in the big blue mega metropolises, it's in trouble. It is in trouble. And again, it's the quiet out loud. We all know that the left is becoming more and more violent, and yet we do nothing about it. And when I say we, I mean those on the right, those on the center right, and those on the center left. We know that the violent political left, they are locked in, and this is the road that, quite frankly, they're going to drag us all down, whether that be here in Mississippi, whether that be in some other place. Jurors deliberated for 7 hours before returning the not guilty verdict. And quite frankly, you can't prosecute crime in these blue cities. In Mississippi, we've already figured that out. That's why in Jackson, we have the Capitol Police Department. That's why the Capitol Police Department has its own set of judges. But that still doesn't change the problem with this case right here. It's because the jury of the peers said it's okay. Our culture is changing, our value system is changing. And again, we are not speaking with gentle answers. We are giving a lot of harsh words. It's just coming more and more clear to so many of us that the blue states, that the blue mega metropolises, they're gonna crumble, they're gonna fall. I keep on getting Escape from New York, uh, placed in my timelines. I want the conservatives and the business people who understand what happened in New York to come to Mississippi. I want them to go to Florida. I want them to go to Texas. But if you are gonna continue to vote, or if you are a liberal who just wants to get out of there, but you're gonna continue to vote Democrat, do not come here. We don't want that pollution. We enjoy Mississippi. And despite all the anger and hate that's generated from social media and the news media, we've got it pretty good here. I think outside of Hinds County, the sandwich slinger would be in not only indicted on a felony, but he'd also be prosecuted. This scares me so much because what's gonna happen, we already know what the left is gonna do once they come back in power. They're gonna repeat J6. They're gonna find some federal charge to roll up a bunch of conservatives, and then are they gonna charge them in Texas or Mississippi or Florida? Nope, they're gonna charge them in DC. It's what happens when the DOJ gets corrupted like it does. And some poster went up and said, this is actually a good thing. It just goes to show the political divide inside the Department of Justice, and it further illegitimizes the DOJ. I don't want to illegitimize the DOJ. I want to restore the DOJ. We need to make it to the point to where there are people in place where if you really screw up, if you really do violate the law, then on you go and enjoy your ride in the system. But this country has already proved, this government, the deep state has already proved they will conduct operations like January 6th. Not even debatable. We've had so many J6ers on, and I promise to have some more on here in the future, but we've talked about it so many times. So many times. And this is just the latest example of that. And I guess I started with the sandwich slinger because remember when it happened, how silly we thought it all was. It was just unbelievable. It was uncanny. It isn't even something that we had ever seen before. I mean, the clip went viral. The guy, I'm sure, got a lot of views, a lot of follows, a lot of subscriptions. But my goodness, where is our legal system now? The sandwich slinger is loose. The sandwich slinger is loose. Can't even say it quick. I'll tell you this. Don't try that in a red state. You do not want to try that here. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We are off and running. This is the Andrew Gosser Show. We will be right back.
Mall of the South has 14,000 square feet of pristine, clean floor space. Home to beautiful, timeless antique treasures. Antique Mall of the South is open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. Check them out online at antiquemallofthesouth.com or go to the Antique Mall of the South Facebook page. You can also read the dozens of 5-star reviews online. Come see for yourself at Antique Mall of the South in Ridgeland. Now open Monday to Saturday, 10 to 5. That's Antique Mall of the South, Highway 51 in Ridgeland.
Hi, this is Lee Atkins of Home Care Plus in Ridgeland. We are a proud carrier of Abena Premium Incontinence products. Abena has the most absorbency available, making changes and leaks less likely. After 7 years as a seller, I can tell you these products are amazing and worth every penny to quality of life for patient and caregiver. And we ship all incontinence products as well. So please come see us at Home Care Plus in Ridgeland for all the incontinence needs of you or your family member. That's Home Care Plus in Ridgeland.
Getting a new prescription filled in your eyeglasses may not get rid of your headaches. It may not be the prescription at all. If your eyeglasses are not custom fit and properly adjusted to you, that could be the source of your headaches. At Eye Gear Optical, we verify the prescription in your lenses and the custom fitting of your frames to ensure you have the most comfortable and visually accurate eyeglasses every time. We fit eyeglasses to you, your lifestyle, and your budget. Eye Gear Optical, 2630 Highway 80 East in Pearl and eyegearoptical.com.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying
your lifestyle and your budget. Eye Gear
on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
Doctor, AC doctor, what's your diagnosis? My whole house was hot as a fever. Now my house frozen. Cause my air condition's old. Doctor, my AC's broken. Doctor, the AC doctor, heal my house, bless my soul.
The AC Doctors is your one-stop provider for air conditioning and heating installation, service, and repair. Contact us for money-saving repairs and lower energy bills.
Doctor, the AC doctor, heal my house, bless my soul.
Google the AC Doctors and get some relief today. TheACDR.com.
Looking for adventure, amazing food, and a little relaxation all in one place? You'll find it at Cypress Point Resort in Brandon. Load up the family and experience a real drive-through safari, petting zoo, and thrilling guided Jeep tours. Then slow it down with mouth-watering steaks at the steakhouse, or grab drinks and live music at the tavern. Planning a wedding or reunion? Cypress Point Resort has beautiful venues and cozy lodging. Ready for your big day or just a weekend escape? It's everything you love about the outdoors with a touch of luxury. Cypress Point Resort. Wild fun right around the corner.
Grizz Nation. The Grizzlies homestand rolls on this Friday, November 7th at 7 p.m. when your Memphis Grizzlies host the Dallas Mavericks at FedEx Forum for the Emirates NBA Cup group play. Don't wait and don't miss out. Visit grizzlies.com/tickets or stop by the FedEx Forum box office to secure your seats today and be a part of the excitement of Memphis Grizzlies basketball.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are rocking and rolling here. Sandwich Slinger down. Next story up. Great news. Appeals court sides with parents group in fight over Ohio school district's pronoun policy. And this is going to lead us into a bunch of other places that are really starting to whine and complain because no one wants to talk about your pronouns. We really don't care. We truly don't care. The U.S. Sixth Court of Appeals ruled that Ohio school district cannot punish students who identify transgender students by their biological pronouns, citing free speech and viewpoint discrimination concerns. That's just the First Amendment working there. But remember when the First Amendment wasn't working? Especially on social media? That's why we're so screwed up if you think about it right now. You had the people who were running they were running the FBI, but they were also running interference on Facebook and X, and I would assume Instagram. Of course, Alphabet, which is the parent company of YouTube. If you remember, Apple and Android banned the use of Getter. They banned another conservative social media app. Meanwhile, Blue Sky continued allowed to be promulgated about the United States, even though there are open threats on that social media platform, even though there is a lot of inappropriate material on there. I try to keep the show G, and when we do have to go down that road, I always give a countdown, so you won't have to worry about that. The court issued a preliminary injunction barring the district from punishing students for using biological pronouns when they're referring to transgender students, while allowing the enforcement of other anti-harassment policies protecting transgender students. Look, no one wants to see anybody get bullied. But for the history of humanity, a dude has been a dude and a chick has been a chick. And no amount of anxiety generated through your cell phone device and social media is going to change that. It doesn't change the science. And what is harassment? You know, kids are pure. They're pure when they're going into school. They understand things. And when they start having their worldviews formed and they are seeing things that aren't looking right biologically, inherently, because that's how God wired our brains, it causes confusion. And all of a sudden you start having these mirrors in kindergarten says, "What do you want to be today?" "Well, I want to be a dinosaur." "Well, that's great. You're going to be a dinosaur today." "No, you're going to be a little boy or a little girl." And we have to continuously fight that, because if we don't, it's just going to creep further and further in. And here was something I was talking about with our surprise, and well, it's not a surprise announcement. It's going to be a big announcement next week. You know, the boomers and the greatest generation are dying out. Those votes are going away. Some people say that's good because there are a lot on the left. Well, there's a lot on the right too. And this is the thing, both sides have to replenish their voters. I know this sounds very morbid, but it's also very, very straightforward. You have to replace your voters. And who is going to be there to replace the left's voters? And who's going to be there to replace the right's voters? We were really rocking and rolling with Turning Point USA and Charlie. We're going to continue to rock and roll with Turning Point USA and Erica. But who are we kidding? We all know we took a hit, and again, what made Charlie so good? This is such a great learning point, bringing the sandwich slinger into it, bringing what we're gonna talk about in the next, hour. There was nobody better at debating and putting someone in their place with a sweet smile and sweet words. There was no one who did it better than Charlie. Now we've gotta generate those people to get to Charlie's level, and better than Charlie's level. And you don't know the next 14, 15, 16-year-old who's coming up through the ranks, who wants to be politically active, who wants to do something bold and audacious, something so extravagant and so strong and so big that it changes the paradigm of the political bubble. And to be fair, Turning Point did that. Turning Point, I genuinely believe, was the greatest grassroots conservative movement I had seen in America since 1994 with the contract with America. That was pretty special. That's not to say that 2016 with Trump wasn't special, or 2020, even 2020 with Trump was special, because we all know he got the shaft. And there's nobody who will ever convince us that the 2020 presidential election wasn't rigged and it wasn't stolen. And it wasn't just the president, but it's with Senate seats, congressional seats, congressional redistricting. I think it's because we've lost our way so far. We've fallen away from what our founding fathers want, that now we're just scrambling to try to hold hold the ship together. And we see the protests in DC. We see what they're doing surrounding the Supreme Court, dressed up in these Grim Reaper outfits. And I mean, I'm 53. It is so hard for me to even fathom that. Let me go throw on a Grim Reaper suit and go protest. Let me go LARP, live action role play. Let me feel important. And maybe that's got something to do with what we're going to talk about, the feels. We've got to come to grip with the feels, because the feels can be great too when your sports team wins, when anniversary comes around, child is born. We all talk about how good those feels are. Let me ask you this: does it feel better to blow someone's candle out or have someone's fire burn brighter? I know what I think. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. The phone in line is 601 879 0002. The text line is open at 601 879 5060. We do have some text I want to get to here. Brother Rick has texted in. The left is like a child that hasn't had a good upbringing. They won't listen to reason. Sometimes you just got to let them touch the hot stove and let reality prove its point. And if that isn't the truth, I don't know what is. Granted, we as parents, we don't want our kids to touch the stove. I can truly remember my oldest son trying to stick a butter knife in the light socket. And I was right there, so right when I realized what he was doing, it didn't happen. But he had that intention, and he had the idea to go do that. Just like so many of these liberals out there, they think that this is great, and because no one's stopping them, they're just going around doing what they're doing. There are no consequences for their actions, so they do it again. We were talking in the last segment about the bias and how these courts, not just in the United States, but also in the UK, have come out and said that sex is determined by biology, not by what's running around inside your computer. You know, a computer is a computer. It gets a virus and it doesn't work anymore. It is what it is. The problem is with the computer, you can go format C:, rip out the hard drive, throw in a new one, and you're basically rocking and rolling. Humans, you don't get the format C: option. Some people are asking what the format C: option is. If you know, you know. If not, it's just basically wiping out your computer and starting all over again. Ladies and gentlemen, the world is against us. We know that. But every once in a while, you get an article so just outrageous and outlandish, you have to report it. This is coming from Sky Sports in the or Sky Sports. I follow too much Arsenal. Sky News in the UK, and they have come out with this story. And I think Rick, you texted it to me, but like 3 or 4 other people did too. And it's talking about how X is fueling the right, but they won't talk about how Blue Sky is fueling the left. They won't talk about how X allows everybody from the left to be there. They can have their opinions put out on X. That's the beautiful thing about X. And Sky News, if I'm gonna actually tweet this while I'm talking about it. It is absolutely an incredible article, if you ask me, because these people put a lot of effort into trying to show how screwed up X is. But in all actuality, all it does is prove that the First Amendment works. So I'll put that on my X account here shortly. But I want to get to this one point, and it calls about the algorithmic bias. The figures indicate a clear imbalance of content promoted on the platform, with right-wing voices dominating the algorithm pushing posts to new users that don't align with their interests. How do you know that it doesn't align with their interest? The effort they put in here. I mean, they've got like charts that kind of show how they feel the signal grows itself, or or the right wing view grows itself. But what it doesn't show is how the left wing back in 2020, 2021, 22, it grew unmatched. And if you were on the right, you were either banned, shadow banned, or otherwise removed from public discourse because your voice didn't count. It's to the point now where they the UK are trying to ban X. Notice here in the United States, we really haven't banned anything. I know that I have some of my very far left-leaning friends who have literally all brakes or all gas, no brakes, and no rails, completely gone off the deep end, and they will not go anywhere where there is freedom of thought. They won't you either agree with them or you're dead to them. And we can't act like that. That's not how society acts like that. Since Elon Musk has acquired X, many left-wing voices have left the platform, choosing alternative social media like Blue Sky. As we all know, we're here in Mississippi, and Blue Sky was banned in Mississippi. Well, Mississippi didn't ban Blue Sky. Blue Sky banned itself. And I still can't get there, but we'll see. Perhaps we can get in there. I've had many of my friends on the right try to join Blue Sky, and they're banned almost within 10 minutes. There are prominent voices out there on the left that are using X, but the Sky News article portrays it like it is so hard to be on Twitter if you're a leftist. It's not. You might have your ideas challenged. You might have your work scrutinized to see if what you're saying is actually true. And look, it happens to me all the time. I get confronted all the time about my conservative beliefs, whether that be on abortion, taxes, voting rights. And the majority of the time, and we've heard it on this program too, the callers come in here. People who don't normally agree with the right, but want to go to a place where they can have honest, open debate, where they're not going to be made to feel like a kid or stupid. And this is, I can genuinely say, as someone who's been in politics while I've been elected, I wish I would have known now when I was back in those positions. I could have been even more effective. What I realize now is if I wouldn't have been so antagonistic and caustic, I would have even had more success. And I realize I'm making this about me a little bit, but I'm not saying, "Oh, look at me, how great I am." I'm saying, "Look at the foolish mistakes I made and how much more I could have done. Please learn from my mistakes so you don't have to make them." My goodness. So there's a political response. The UK government is calling X a threat to democracy. Some senior politicians in England have increasingly been expressing concern about the influence of Musk and X with respect to British politics. Well, of course. And on this show, this audience understands how crazy England is right now and why it is so important that we understand what's happening in England. Because if we're not careful, the things that they're doing, not just with their immigration, by the way, England, the UK is lost. Their immigration is so overrun, and they don't know what to do. The Tories, which are considered on the right side, and then they have the Labour Party, which would be considered on the left side. They're both sides are so screwed up with it. At the Labour's annual annual conference, Energy Secretary said Musk was a threat to British society and democracy. Whew, those are very strong words. And they're just lining up. Those on the left are just lining up, not just in England, but in Europe in general, try to get rid of this because it's the only place that people can go to get good knowledge. I realize that when I go to a story, and when we first started this show, when I first started guest hosting, I I really realized how biased my thought process was, how I always just went for my worldview, and if you didn't agree with me, I would cut you off, and I realized that was wrong. So now I go to places like this, and I marvel if they can see the duplicity. One of the things we like to do on the show is rewrite stories using the exact same words, except putting in the right instead of the left or the left instead of the right to see how people will react and get reactions. Wow, that's a really deep topic right there. What if we've just turned into a society that all we care about are the clicks and reactions? If that's where we're at in America and the world, we are all in trouble. We are all in trouble. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah. The final segment of the first hour. It just goes by so quick, ladies and gentlemen. It really does. And the texts are great. The interaction in the chat is there. The text line, if you send in a video, just realize I'm not going to be able to watch the video until after the show, or if it's short enough at the top of the hour break, like we're getting ready to go hit, I can maybe watch it then. But if I don't get your story on the air, it doesn't mean that I don't appreciate you. This listening audience comes in with comments and ideas, and it really drives the show. And it's what makes WYAB the best news talk and information radio station in Mississippi. And it's awesome. We appreciate y'all. If you're not following me on X yet, you need to, at Andrew Gasser, AndrewGasser. In the next hour, it's coming. And I'm really excited to be talking about this article from Lacey Nago. I hope I'm saying her name right. And it gets back to one of the core points of the show, and that is winning elections. And when you have the Turning Point USA director of Chasing the Vote saying something, perhaps that's what we need to do. There are so many people who understand what needs to happen out there. And do we empower them? Do we listen to them? Or do we do something else? That's going to be the big one. Tesla approves Elon Musk's $1 trillion compensation package, even though the Danish government voted against it. Elon Musk could very likely become the first trillionaire. I wonder if any of the Saudi princes, Saudi family, they might be there. They might get to $1 trillion first, but maybe not. And perhaps that is Elon's big game plan, to sit there and try to get the most money so he can build the Starship to go wherever he thinks he needs to go. Look, the first hour is in the can. The next hour is on the horizon. It's just 8.5 minutes away. We're going to take our top of the hour break. And when we get back, not only are we going to have that article by Miss Lacey Nago, we're going to talk about ranked choice voting and how the left tries to fool the right. You are listening to the Andrew Gasser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Airlines have cut hundreds of flights as ordered by the FAA to weather airport staff shortages caused by the government shutdown. Reagan National is one of 40 major airports affected.
Most of the passengers here at DCA have heard from their airlines about possible delays and cancellations.
Well, they sent me out a few emails indicating that there's a possibility.
This passenger got here early for his flight to Orlando. He does a lot of traveling for work.
So that could also affect our business.
This traveler says he is concerned.
I've got a wedding to get to, and I hope I get home in time.
Neil Augustine for CBS News, Reagan National Airport.
To the north, CBS's Meg Oliver.
If you're flying out of Newark today, I've got to be honest, it's not a bad place to be. Less than 50 flights have been canceled. The other two major airports, LaGuardia and JFK, they're faring just as good. Most of the airlines are telling us that these impacts of about 4% of the cuts that started today are going to be felt at regional airports.
The Senate could vote today on a revamped Republican spending proposal designed to entice Democratic support. CBS's Caitlin Huey-Burns on Capitol Hill covering the shutdown.
Talking to Democrats, they are very emboldened from the election results on Tuesday and from the president's own comments the following morning, saying that Republicans were the ones getting the blame. And that, in his words, was evident from the election results. So there are a lot of Democrats up here who feel like they shouldn't give in at this point, that they've got some political capital and they want to use it.
The Trump administration will appeal a judgment over that called for SNAP food benefits to be paid out this month in their entirety. The number of people in ICE custody has hit a record high, as we hear from CBS's Michael Wallace. Internal Department of Homeland Security data obtained by CBS News says the number of detainees climbed to 66,000 this week. That's a 70% increase since President Trump took office in January. Half of the detainees do not have criminal charges or convictions. Several victims of the massive Eaton wildfire in Southern California earlier this year are calling on the state for help after testing showed the toxins remain in their homes despite remediation. Bill Malone lives there.
This house is contaminated. We're finding black soot and stuff like that in our drawers and our cabinets. And if it's in our drawers and our cabinets, we can't trust anything.
Denmark's government's announced a plan to ban social media access for anyone under 15. Grammy nominations today.
If this world were mine.
Kendrick Lamar leads the way. He has 9. Checking Wall Street. Right now the Dow is down 3.7. This is CBS News.
Sponsored by Progressive. See why over 43 million drivers trust Progressive to stay protected on the road. See for yourself at Progressive.com.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, and anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit quirky, and may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-230-2777. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-230-2777. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-230-2777 or...
News and weather are brought to you this hour by Flora Animal Hospital, where we treat your pets like our own. Visit our website, floraanimalhospital.com.
And the chilly winds blew down. But first, the possibility of some rough weather this afternoon and evening, says the National Weather Service, with strong winds and maybe a twister.
There's enough wind and set up for that could rule out a tornado in this environment.
The high today is 79. The low tonight is 61. The high Saturday is 81. Then the first front comes through and drops Sunday's high to 60. Sunday night is part 2, and Monday's high in the metro may not quite reach 50.
There on Monday is going to be quite windy, and so our real feel temperatures will be quite cold.
It may feel as cold as the low 30s. It warms up into the mid-50s for Tuesday. You've got news on 103.9 WIAB. I'm Chris Davis. What that orange cloud was over the CF Industries plant Wednesday in Yazoo City has not been explained publicly yet by the company. In a public statement Thursday, they said the ammonia storage tanks were not compromised and that everything is contained and the plant is still in operation. An investigation by the state is happening. It's not clear whether the fire at a house on Louisiana Street Wednesday night about 11:30 was meant to kill her, but a woman was found in the upstairs bedroom and sent to the hospital and is expected to live. The man that investigators believe set the fire has been charged with arson. He's Atman Hackett of Jackson. Delta State University was honored in the U.S. Senate Thursday by Senators Cindy Hyde-Smith and Roger Wicker. The school turned 100 years old in September, and next week begins a year-long celebration. It was originally Delta State Teachers College and became a university in 1974. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WIAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are the individual views and opinions of the people expressing them and are not necessarily reflect those of this radio station, its parent, affiliated, or related entities, agents, or employees.
And welcome back to the second hour of the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. It is Friday, the 7th of November, 2025, and we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube, and we are streaming at WYAB.com. So even if you can't pick up our 50,000 watt blowtorch here in Mississippi, you can go always check out the stream, and we really appreciate that. Look, if you want to be on the show today, the number is 601-879-0002. The text line is open at 601-879-5060. And please, if you haven't taken the time yet to pop on X and follow me, I'd appreciate it. It's just at Andrew Gosser, at AndrewGasser. And the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And the thing about it is we all know that a gentle answer turns away wrath and a harsh word incites anger. But we have to come to the realization that not only do we have to say that and kind of think that, but we got to practice what we preach. And that brought me to Miss Lacey Niago's post on X today, or I guess it was yesterday. And when this post came through, I kind of read it and I was like, and then as I continued to read it, I was like, she's making a lot of good points, many points that we've made here, but she has a very different perspective from this. So I think this is the first time, truthfully, that we've just taken a complete post from X and turned it into a segment, but that's what we're going to do here. And again, this all fell through about 10 minutes before I came on air. So let's see how this goes. And this is Lacey Niago. I'm a millennial, quote unquote, emotional woman. And this is my emotional rant of why conservatives are losing young women. I drove home yesterday after spending nearly a month in Phoenix, fighting for a hard-fought win in Mesa. So excited for our team, but disheartened by the outcome of the other races across the country. Miss Lacey, I am too. If you saw what happened here in Mississippi, we ended up losing a state representative seat and 3 state Senate seats, and we lost our supermajority in the Senate. There are a lot of bright spots out there. I agree with you, ma'am, but there were some disasters, and Mississippi is not to be excluded from that. As a woman that works in politics, having dreamed of living in New York City as a little girl, and still to this day, I was left alone with my thoughts for 2 hours. How in the world did a socialist just win with 84% of young women vote in New York City? Dude, that's just ridiculous. 84% of women. And we've talked about Sharia law and how they're trying to bring elements of that in there. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. How did 65% of the women my age vote for a socialist? What needs to change? 4 things. And this is where Miss Lacey goes in, and she is going to challenge your political norms. She is going to challenge you to think. I remember whether I was on a mission or leading a group or an organization, I would say, I don't want you to necessarily think like me. I just want you to think. So let's listen to what she says. Number 1, stop the attacks. Women are emotional by nature. This is the truth. They vote with their emotions and heart more than the pure logic as men do. We must recognize this and embrace it instead of saying things online like women are too emotional and shouldn't be allowed to vote. We've talked about that here. Let's be truthful about it. This whole station, we've talked about it. Or women are so dumb in that sentence, she said. I do not agree with that. Women are incredibly smart. They're cunning. They have thoughts and feelings just like we do. They just get to the same point we get to by going a different route. And that's how God made us. And that's how it's supposed to be. I saw this all over X yesterday. Attacking women is not how we will ever win them over. And again, I think this gets back to Turning Point's mission, starting in the high schools. And we have a problem here in Mississippi. We know that Clinton High School is not allowing Turning Point USA into the school, but we have to do that. And here's the one that got me, because I've been saying this ever since 2016. We need to stop the infighting. Women are sick of it. I cannot tell you how many girlfriends that voted for Trump in 2024 have told me that they are just so sick and tired, or I'm sorry, they're so tired of the divisiveness and no longer even want to be involved. I can tell you that infighting is brutal in both parties. Right now, if you were to ask me my opinion, I think the left has got it a lot worse than we do. I would also say that the way that we process information might be a little bit different than the left. We want to see our victories, but we want to see our victories because of the policy we believe in, not by manipulation, not by fear mongering, not by lying or otherwise not telling the truth. Much like Zorhan Mandami, the day after the election, start sending me money. She continues, it's exhausting. Millennial women are trying to raise babies, hold down a job, run a household, be a wife, and the last thing we have energy for is to battle a battle of egos in male-dominated politics. So, as a male, we look at this and say, we want to grow our circle. And some of the best political advice, real quick, before I get into that thought, that was ever given to me was given to me by one of my opponents. I'm not going to call it a mortal enemy, but definitely not there. And she was a Republican and I was a Republican, and we would just scrap hard. And again, if I would have been a little more gentle, if I would have realized that hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all the offenses. And I'm not saying I had to love this woman, but I could have appreciated her and been a friend, much like Supreme Court Associate Justice Antonin Scalia and Supreme Court Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Do you know that Scalia and Ginsburg went on vacation together? They went on vacations together. My goodness. We need to get back to that. We will continue to lose the suburban women vote and no longer keep, I'm sorry, let me start it over. We will continue to lose the suburban women vote the longer we keep destroying each other. Women are checked out and it's a turnoff. This is what I'm going to say. The body politic is driving itself, and it gets ugly. And the truth of the matter is, and I know this because so many of you have texted me and told me that you've kind of checked out of politics after the presidential election because it was just so brutal and nasty. But what people don't understand is that's what the deep state wants. The deep state wants us to be infighting. This deep state wants men versus the women, the homosexuals against the straight community, the transgender community against the world. They want all that. Strong men matter. You know what? We're getting a phone call. Let's go ahead and take it real quick. Hey, go ahead. You're on the air.
I knew I would find you, you son of a bitch. It is Clay Edwards, you racist motherfucker. I knew I'd find you.
Ooh, we won't take that one. My goodness. What you just saw right there was the use of the Deedle button. Thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. We'll continue. We will continue to lose the suburban women vote the longer we keep destroying each other and women are checked out. There are a lot of people checked out. We've got to bring them back in. And it's a lot easier to catch a fly with honey than it is with vinegar. We talk about it on the show all the time. This show caters everybody from the left all the way to the right, the center left all the way to the right. Callers like just called in. I know they're listening out there. It actually brings me joy to make sure that, I've got people so far out there. But when they come in and the first things out of their mouth are words that the FCC would not make Mr. Matt very happy about, gotta dump them. Gotta dump them. Strong men matter. This is her third point. Mandami was seen as the father and the husband that many of these women likely did not have in their lives. Women want to be taken care of, and Mandami has promised to do that. He is full of charisma and preyed upon the emotions of young women and the void they are feeling. She is actually laying out the blueprint of the left. At the same time, she is maybe even inadvertently pointing out how important the nuclear family is, right? The nuclear family is. It's just fact of life. Kids who have a mom and a dad in the home, and even better when the mom can stay at home, kids just they have a better trajectory in life. It's just the way it works out. Strong men that respect women, protect women, that value their opinions instead of feeling threatened by them, that see women's unique strengths as the perfect partnership from God to their masculine dominant traits. We need more of these men. And I love what she's saying there. I know when I was first elected, I was saved, but I wasn't rolling like I should be rolling. And I see when I'm rolling now how God opens up more doors. And women actually want that. Miss Lacey says so right here. She's expressing that opinion. Women want stability. Look, if you watch some of the TikTok videos and all that stuff, they'll talk about how these young women have been completely changed and brainwashed into going down the road where they expect that a man to make $200,000 or $300,000 before they start dating a year. Men, we work hard. I got the blue collar crew. Love you guys. Always checking in. Stay safe out there. We got people. Men work hard. Not all of us make 200,000. Not all of us make that kind of money. But we're out there doing it. And if we've got to be strong, if we've got to go out there and do the things to bring home money so that our wives can stay at home, raise our kids, and we need to go ahead and honor and glorify the position of the wife and the woman inside the nuclear family and realize it's okay not to be a rocket scientist. It's okay. You don't have to be an accountant. You can be a mom. I said it before, and I will say it again. The most important title a man will ever get is father. The most important title a woman can ever get is mother. Now, I did talk to my mother, and she did say that grandma was pretty good. And I got to say, being a grandfather is awesome. But it's not like that. Look, we have one more section to go over of Miss Lacey's post here on X. If you're not following her, follow her at Lacey Nago, at LACENAGAO. She is the national coordinator for Chasing the Vote for Turning Point USA. Be a wise person to follow. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Hey, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, so we're off the air.
No, let's get back on there.
No,
I like the on air part. Let's get back on there. let the Mississippi, let's let the United States know what kind of racist motherfuckers y'all we have down here. You want to talk about the crime here in Jackson and everything? You talk about that a lot. Let's talk about the crime that happened before the black people got here when all these Ku Klux Klan was lynching. We still have all murders from white folks lynching folks around here. Let's talk about that crime. You remember who actually started this shit? Let's talk about that crime. Or your granddads and your grandfather lynched black folk, innocent black folks around here, man. Little black girls around after church raping them. Let's talk about that crime. You got some kind of fucking audacity to try to badmouth black people to cover up your own motherfucking goddamn sins. You got some goddamn. You live here in Jackson, Mississippi. You know Mississippi ain't that. You know the United States ain't that big, right? I can get any part of the United States right now within a day. I can get anywhere within a day. In any part of the United States, I can get to anywhere. So you know how quick it'll take me to get to you in here in Jackson, Mississippi, with it. Hello? Want to talk? Let's talk. Put me back on air. I didn't know I was actually on air. If I knew I was actually on air, I wouldn't have hung up. You know who you speaking to? Would you like to know? Hello? Are you there? That's why I talk about the fucking cowards. You get on this motherfucking social media and on this TV and talk all that badass talk, but when it comes to talking to us face to face, fucking cowards. Like a bitch ass coward. If your mom and dad is still alive, go slap that bitch and tell her, well, mama, it's your fault you raised such a racist motherfucker. Go slap her. Kick your dad in the nut. For being I can't even find a name. Why you just holding the fucking phone? Are you that Clay Edwards motherfucker? That's who I really want. Are you him? The motherfucker thought he was gonna get.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. Spicy, yo. Holy smokes. Here we are talking about Lacey Nago and her wonderful article. And we have just, the trolls are out. And the truth of the matter is you can't do anything about it. Not do anything about it. I just have to let it go. And so while we are talking about this article, the person, whoever that is still on the line, still talking into the mute button and the deedle button. But we'll keep them there. We'll just let them go. Let's continue what we're talking about. Economics in the family unit. This goes along with number 3. We have to figure this out. if women are struggling to survive financially, they cannot buy a house, struggle to make ends meet each month, work a job that pays directly enough to cover the cost of childcare. And there's so much more here to this, Miss Lacey. But what I want to say is, why can't women afford that anymore? Is it because we have taken SNAP benefits, EBT, the justice system, and completely turned that into the husband? They have effectively, we've talked about this before. They have removed the black husband from the nuclear family in the black community. We've had the text here. We've had everything going on to prove how the government has not necessarily destroyed the Indian family or the Asian family or the white, but this has really completely blown up the black nuclear family. Clay talks about it all the time. Back in the 70s and 80s, 75 to 80% of the families had a father in the home. The black families had a black father in the home. I would say you could even drop the whole racial issue, which this person who's still on the air, I just see the little green light going boom up and down. He's going to town. We're just going to let him rant into the mute button. But my point being is that the government, Republicans and Democrats, have used the government to destroy the black family. And what we're saying is the government is not going to try to put together the black family. It's truly going to be up to the voter electorate. I want to continue with what Miss Lacey said because I agree with it, and have been promised an American dream that they feel is duped. It's not just women, though, Miss Lacey. I know you're a millennial, and I know you work a lot with Gen X, or not. Sorry, not well. You work with Gen X too. We're all right, but the Gen Zers, the Gen Alpha, they feel duped. I was talking to my son last night, and he was saying, I'm not sure I'm ever going to buy another home. He bought one, but they're sitting there now looking for another one. And the economy is tough, whether it be through inflation, whether it be through regulatory measures put down by either the federal government or the state government or even the local government. She goes on to say that they are naturally going to run to the man who offers a false sense of safety and security. And yes, I realize all of these points have feelings or emotional component, but that's exactly the point. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see where the conservative movement goes from here, because 2026 isn't too far away. And Miss Lacey, you know, we've got a way to go, because 2028 isn't too far away too. That's why being a precinct delegate is so important. Representing your local area, not worried about what's going on in California or Arizona. That's above our pay grade. How great would it be if you could just own your own street and be able to convince everybody to get out and vote on election day? Dare I say, chase the vote. Some of you guys are calling in asking, "Hey, is that still the conversation still going in?" It's he's still going or she's still going. It's 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 pretty funny. Look, the bottom line is, oh my goodness. The bottom line is we have to take what Miss Lacey has said and incorporate it into our own playbook right here in Mississippi. How do we bring in the young kids like Charlie was doing? How do we bring in the women like Charlie was doing. It all comes, and Miss Lacey brought up God, but it all comes back to fellowship. It all comes back to hanging out with like-minded individuals so that you can build your own stuff up, and then start bringing in people and start talking to people who don't necessarily agree with you. Not like this person who's on this call right now. And if you are listening to the stream, when we hit the break, we'll put that on there because that ain't going out over the internet. Or that's going out over the internet. That's not going to go out over the airwaves. We can't do that. Miss Lacey, I want to say thank you for, number one, writing that post, and number two, getting back in touch with me. The work that you guys are doing at Turning Point Action is awesome. I love Turning Point. I've been following and with Turning Point for a long time. And any chance that I see something where I feel we can push the political bubble and move it along down the road a little bit, I think that's a winning proposition. And the truth of the matter, people are still asking, if we do not make ourselves uncomfortable, we don't go out and chase the boat. We don't go to some of these neighborhoods that have been completely neglected by the Democrats, even though they all vote Democrat, have completely been abused by the Democrats because that's what their government, local government is. We have to figure out a way to make sure that these people do feel involved. We've got to make sure that we do have an ability to bring these people into the party. And that's not going to say that they're going to be out there and be block captains, precinct captains, candidates for office. Although, don't sell yourself short either. Don't sell yourself short either, because you might find one. You might find the next you. You might find the next alderman. But Lacey's right. If we just get on the internet and make these blanket statements, and I've made some of them, I do realize that. I've always tried to quantify it with a specific example. I guess that's why, for me personally, and I go back to 2016 with this. We all remember the lesbian in the reflective jacket who was on her knees screaming no. And I remember laughing at that, just going, what's going on? There are so many more people like that out there than you would want to believe. And they still get fired up and they still get rolling down the road, and they go out and they do their own thing. And it makes it more difficult for the rest of us who are working jobs, who have kids, just want to take our kids to the soccer game and do the things we want to do. We don't want to have to put up with stuff like this caller who's sitting here on hold and still going off. But that's Miss Lacey's article. I really appreciate it. I think it's important that we really focus on some of those scriptures that are watching our tongue, because we never know when we might influence the next person. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. If you're not tuned into the stream, you're going to want to be. This is the Andrew Gosser Show. We will be right back.
I'm just going to hold the phone.
Oh, man. Just as we were going to commercial break, he hung up. And the way that the system works here at the show. Oh, wait, call him back, maybe. Hold on. Go ahead. We're on commercial break.
Am I on air?
You are on the stream. You are worldwide. You are on YouTube. Wait, hold on a second. Look, I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm going to let you say what you're going to say. You are on YouTube. You are on Rumble.
YouTube.
You are on X. You are all over the world. You got people
Oh,
listening to you.
really?
Yeah. Hold on.
Hey, is this Clay Edwards?
No, this ain't Clay Edwards. But hold on. I just want to give you.
I want to speak to that racist Clay Edwards. That's who I'm calling to speak to.
Well, you didn't get him. You got Andrew Gosser instead. But what I want to tell you is this: go ahead and make your points, because the world is going to hear you, and we are going to use what you say.
I want the world to hear what I got to say. I'm glad you did this.
Me too.
I want to know why the world is letting a pedophile run this country. I want to know why the DOJ and the FBI, after finding out Donald Trump's name is all in that Epstein file, why they decided to close those files so abruptly. I want to know that. And I also want to know why the Republicans are trying to badmouth black people here in Mississippi and all over the country to get their attention off their crime. Because, you know, our crimes are petty compared to, like, now, every day here in Mississippi on the news, they got some black person committing crime. But see, they forgetting that I can run the list. I can pull up the list here in the county, and you got white people down there for murder, sexual assault on children, embezzlement. I mean, but that never hit the news. You know what I'm saying? You got white people here committing just as much crimes as black people, but it never hits the news. Why is that? Is that a part of y'all white privilege thing? Which is the dumbest motherfucking thing I ever thought of in my life. White privilege.
We agree with that.
Yeah, that's. I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of ignorant. That's for somebody to say I'm white privileged. You kind of ignorant. But anywho,
hey,
I want to know why they're not saying anything. Shad White here in the state of Mississippi, all of a sudden, don't want to investigate the Tate Reeves with this how much it was? It was millions of dollars that Tate Reeves stole from the tellers. Tate Reeves gonna holler, well, it was before I was on there. No, it wasn't, motherfucker. You was state treasurer, then you were lieutenant governor, then you were lieutenant governor again. You said before your wife, but you was the state treasurer first, though.
Yep. Hey, you just stay right there. We're getting ready to come back. We're just going to let you keep on going, doing what you're doing. Preach.
We're coming.
Oh, don't fear the Reaper, but fear the Deedle button. My goodness. This actually that was streaming gold during the break. If you didn't hear it, you'll be able to hear it. My point being is that this person, as angry and is upset and is fired up as they are, they still agree that white privilege was ignorant. He called it something else, or I think it's hard for me to tell. Forgive me. I'm just going to say it's a he. If it's a she, I apologize. But the whole thing is that they admit that white privilege is silly, and it is a stupid leftist tactic to keep us divided. You know, I would reach out to this person and go have lunch with them, but I'm just not going to do it. But I am glad that I heard their point, and those of you who tuned in got to hear that. Woo, my goodness. My goodness. And, you know, going back to what this caller said and then looking what Miss Lacey just said, right? We are completely, are we being hypocritical because we are, for lack of better words, laughing at liberal tears? And by the way, really quick, because I'm on the air, I know Clay Edwards. I know he's not a racist. I defend Clay Edwards. He's ride or die. I've got his back 1,000%. And the truth of the matter is, Clay, the reason that people like this individual are so upset is because Clay just talking the truth, and he is just tired of putting up with it. He grew up in Jackson. He knows Jackson. You know, if Clay says something and I say the exact same thing, you're more inclined to believe Clay because he grew up there. If something happens in Chicago, people are going to say, well, what does Andy think about that? He grew up there. The truth of the matter is we have to figure out not necessarily how to get to this person who's on line one and they're rolling. Holy smokes. But we have to figure out how to get to their kids, his or her kids, her grandkids, and say, you know what? I realized that your papa, your grandma, whatever, grew up through some tough times. But there's nobody talking right now who's doing what happened back then. And just for the record, if we're talking about the Rankin County Jail, those deputies who did all that heinous stuff, they're in jail. They're in jail. But let me tell you this. If you're a sheriff in the Delta and you are helping to facilitate the death and destruction of black people in Memphis by allowing cocaine, marijuana, fentanyl, and other illicit drugs to be piped into Memphis, number one, who are those people that are doing it? And number two, does this not completely prove the blacks' point, the black community's point, that they said that the CIA was bringing in all the drugs into the country to kill the black community, and now we catch black sheriffs and black deputies facilitating that? Make it make sense, man. No one is talking. No one is talking about the things that happened 50, 60, 70 years ago. That's not to say that we've forgotten about it. It's just we got stuff going on now, and we've got to fix it. We've got to fix it in a way that we make sure that things that happened back in the 1800s and early 1900s and in the 50s and 60s don't happen again. And the truth is, we were doing that up until we elected President Obama. You know, all that same technology we talked about in the Sky News article about the right wing grow or the conservative right growing in the UK and around the world because of X. You can use that same technology to look when all of this racial hatred and division really started kicking off again. 2008. And I know my listeners sitting there, man almighty, like the green lights, they're just off the hook. It's all over the place. I wish I could record this while I'm on the air, but I can't. That's just the way it works. But the fact that they admit that white privilege is huge, is ignorant, and one of the stupidest things they ever heard. I believe that's what they said. We're going to clip this, Clay. We're going to clip this because that is awesome. We've got other stories out there. We do. I just want to make sure I've got everything lined up that I need to have. Speaking of the sheriff, Mississippi Today, you know, that ultra right-wing conservative. I hope they're listening. That ultra right-wing conservative bastion of responsible citizen journalism, Mississippi Today, under justice, no less. Here we go. Listen carefully. sheriff ensnared in FBI drug sting, pleads not guilty, vows to mount complete defense. So the FBI and the DOJ bust all these people for drugs, and now they're saying we're going to form a defense. And oh, by the way, we're going to bring God into it, and we're going to start using the churches. Everybody start reaching out and laying hands on a good old sheriff. And then you wonder, does this person read Mississippi Today? Does this person watch WLBT, Clarion Ledger? When we go to commercial break, I'm going to ask this person what news sources they have, and we're going to try to figure out. We're going to use this as a learning vehicle. It's not a science. No. It's not texter saying science experiment. No. This is a vehicle. This is a learning tool. And instead of just sitting there shunting it to ground and blowing it up without putting them on the air, figure out how this all works. And let's be truthful, much like Miss Lacey talked about the anger with the women and how we have to figure out how to address that. We got to figure out how to not reach this person again, because Holy Ghost could reach that, but I don't think Andrew Goss are going to reach that. But I'll listen, because that's just the way I am. A Mississippi sheriff arrested last week in a federal drug conspiracy sting. Conspiracy. Has pleaded not guilty and vowed to mount a full defense, but has stepped down from his elected office to comply with his bond agreement. So let's look at the political bias right here. The real headline isn't sheriff ensnared, because that sounds like he was tricked. It shouldn't be sheriff ensnared. It should say Humphreys County Sheriff Bruce Williams forced to resign after being arrested last week in a federal drug conspiracy sting, which he has pleaded not guilty and vowed to mount a full defense. That's what it should be. Do you see that? This is the Mississippi Today. And by the way, the other Mississippi Free Press, if I go to their homepage, number one, you can see their first link is Blue Sky, the Blue Sky. And they haven't updated their page in a few days. Something going on at the Free Press that I don't know about? Last story before we go to the break, everybody. They have captured the last escaped monkey, and they didn't have to destroy it, which I'm happy with. I know people who work in primate research, and I know Tulane is upset, but they're going to have a lot of things to answer for. The bill of health for those monkeys, they were crossing state lines. If you are crossing state lines, and I know this personally because I'm a farmer and I've had to move sheep before. If I have to do that, I have to have a vet come out and inspect my sheep to make sure that they're not sick before I ship them across state lines. And I'm talking about sheep, not puppy dog and I've never shipped chickens across state lines, so I wouldn't know how that works. Look, we're going to take another commercial break, and we're going to go ahead and close out the program in the next segment. If you've enjoyed today's show, would you please share and like the stream? Would you please leave a comment? Would you please go ahead and subscribe to me on X? It would be greatly appreciated. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back.
Oh, they give 20,000 off the top of it, but they ain't gonna say nothing about that 20,000 they got off it. They just gonna charge up for that 5,000 she spent. That's the type of shit they do. Crooked ass motherfuckers. I've been knowing it for years.
So
they want to talk about crime around here. Let's talk about all these lynchings back in the days, all these unsolved crimes.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Well, white folks
Breathe.
With those, listen.
Listen. Hey, I'm trying to talk to you. You said you wanted to talk. Let's talk.
Poor black people.
Look, you said you wanted to talk. I'm trying to talk to you and have a conversation.
White boy go in school. He'll kill up 10, 15 people.
Lost cause. Did I yell at this person? Did I not try to have a meaningful conversation with this? But I genuinely think they're just out there ranting and raving, and I don't want to give a complete platform to this. I'm like stuck in a conundrum. Yep. And Miss Dee, Miss Lacey was the one who wrote that article, who's the Turning Point director, who was talking about how we have to recalibrate how we talk to women and how we need to recalibrate how we message. Again, the goal of politics is to bring people into what you believe, right? And there are people who clearly need to get thumped. But my goodness gracious. And he's still going. Let's see if we can try to get it. Hey, can I say something real quick?
They ain't bringing war actors here. They didn't announce where I know it.
Hey, can we talk?
You bring them through here on a good day.
Hey,
now they motherfuckers ain't nothing but traitors.
Can I ask you a question?
I try to answer.
Okay. How long have you lived in Jackson?
All my life.
I'm from Chicago.
I'm from Chicago too. I actually been living here. My dad's from Blue Island, Illinois. I'm from Blue Island, Illinois.
That's awesome. Oak Park.
Okay, my parents moved down here. My mom and dad separated when I was 10 years old.
Oh, that's really.
And I've been down here ever since.
So who brought you down here? Your mama?
I'm down here with my mom people. My dad's supposed to be from Chicago.
Yep. I hear that. So when were you, can you tell me roughly how old you are? I don't want to make fun of you, but I just want to get a rough age of how long
I'm older than, I'm tell you like this, I'm old enough to know better.
Well, but that doesn't.
I have children that's in their 30s.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you.
All three of my children are in their 30s. That's how mature I am.
We can hear your maturity loud and clear. You're definitely doing good with that. And I'm just making sure that we're honoring all the breaks and everything. So when you were in Mississippi, where did you move to? The south side of Jackson, north side of Jackson? I don't want to know.
Look, I'm from Rankin County.
Oh, you're in Rankin County.
I'm from Rankin. My people know I'm a Norwood.
Oh, okay. So you were born in.
We are very, prominent people over here.
Yeah.
So I'm one of them.
Yep, I hear you. So you
So the thing is, we have land here. I moved to Jackson because I'm squatting on some land that's here. That the state of Mississippi wants.
You're squatting on it. That's what you need to do.
I'm squatting on it because the state of Mississippi wanted it so badly. Cause they actually come up to my door, knocking down houses. The bulldozer. I woke up. The bulldozer was actually in my motherfucking yard. About to hit my house down with me in it.
My goodness.
That's how bad they want this property.
When did they try to do that? Wait, hold on. And we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. I'm telling you what, if I had just strictly a podcast, I would invite this person on and we would have it out. But what we did find out is they're from Chicago. They moved to Jackson. Then they moved to Rankin, bought some property, and now we're squatting on this property that Jackson wants. But who's trying to take the money? Who's trying to take this person's property? It's not the state. Do you realize that this person, if I could somehow, that's what I want to do. You know what? I'm going to do a podcast with this person because I can't do it on the radio, ladies and gentlemen. It's just, the language is just, I mean, it would make a senior chief in the United States Navy say, you know what, that guy can put together some stuff. But they're admitting they're squatting on a piece of property that the city wants. The Democrats have run the city for what, the last 50 years? This isn't the Republicans. This isn't the Republicans. And I want to have compassion with this person. I'm literally, as soon as the show is over and we go, I am actually going to try to see if we can't do something with this on a podcast, because this is the type of stuff where you bring people to the right when they hear just how far out there is. And look, there's some people on the right who are just as fired up and energetic as this. And whoo, my goodness, the F-bombs and all that stuff, we don't want that. Look, it has been, people are talking about the comic relief. This has been an incredible week. And as we get ready to wrap up the week, you know, I always try to make sure I express my gratitude, my love, and my appreciation for my wife. We have an awesome life together, and she is a woman of God who leads by example. I know that people want to be missionaries and spread the word and help do that stuff, but how many of you actually always do that? Not too often. Not too often, but not Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea is on an international missions trip, working with young ladies and widows and orphans, working with 13-year-olds who were forced to have relationships with men 30, 40, 50 years older and then have their babies. That's wrong. And I just salute the Sweet Pea on yet another successful mission trip. Sweet Pea, do all sorts of great things down there. Roll with the Holy Ghost. And look, we are going to take a 46-hour hiatus, but we will be back, ladies and gentlemen. Take care, everybody. Be blessed.
Put him out and he's home with these child molesters and abuse. Stop breaking up our motherfucking families over dumb shit.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen up. I have to go because I'm off the air. But I want to let you know. Did you get my text number? Can I give you my number?
Sure.
601.
And what number is this?
My text line. I'll answer it. 601.
And who you say you are again?
Andrew Gosser. 601.
Hold on, let me put my glasses on.
Hurry up because I only have a
601
879
879
5060.
5060. 879 5060.